Joining me now is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, we just shared that you had really pressed in the written questionnaire for a written version of this, a written answer here, not just verbal. Can you help us understand, people watching right now, why getting Blanche to rescind Trump's so-called settlement with the IRS in a formal written agreement matters?
Well, because Blanche is a weasel, and he will weasel his way out of things that he says. If you watch his answers to our questions, they're always hedging. They're always leaving a little opening. He wants, I think, to be able to come back and say, I have technically complied with your requirement that we're not going to have this weaponization fund go forward, and yet find a way to be able to give the money in the fund to the January 6th rioters. He's just a very, very hard individual to trust. He's very slippery.
It is. I mean, I think you just answered my question here. I was going to ask you just like why he just won't put it in writing. It seems like it's just because he won't do it. He just wants to slip out of it. He's a weasel. Okay, let me move on to the other thing I wanted to ask you. He said that verbally that the slush fund portion of the deal was dead. He has said that the part that gives Trump IRS immunity is still alive, which is still significant. And I don't want us to kind of whistle over here. Why do you think that's still alive beyond this effort to hold up the confirmation by Cornyn and Tillis? I mean, what can be done to kill that? Or could that be part of what they try to kill here, too? What should people understand?
Well, the Trump family tax fraud amnesty scam is a very, very big deal. And it's obviously a very big deal to Blanche's former client, Donald Trump. It means a lot of money, and it means relief from investigations into whatever tax fraud he may have committed. Remember, he was found guilty of fraud related to financial declarations that he had made. So there's a track record here. So it really is a very big deal. And I hope that Senators Tillis and Cornyn are seeing that corrupt deal as a package. It really doesn't help much to carve out one aspect of a corrupt deal and let the other piece of the corrupt deal go forward. And the third piece here, Jen, is that the way this was accomplished in the Florida court has exploded in the face of the lawyers down there, including in the face of Todd Blanche. The judge's decision she sent to the New York bar authorities, which have disciplinary jurisdiction over Todd Blanche. She was so fed up with his conduct, and she found that there was a good likelihood that a fraud had been committed upon the court, which is probably the worst thing that a lawyer can do in court. It's worse than even contempt of court. So you have the disciplinary proceeding pending. You've got her fraud on the court concern still pending, and that relates directly to how this deal was cooked up. So it's really a threefer. It's the crooked slush fund, it's the crooked Trump family tax scam amnesty, and it's the fraud on the court that Trump's personal lawyer, now AG nominee, engaged in to try to pull a fast one on a federal judge.
I was just explaining that if he doesn't have the votes in the Judiciary Committee, of course, that could kill his nomination here. The vote is supposed to be Thursday. We're at the end of July here. Senators, nobody's really eager to stay in Washington in August, typically. The next 24 hours are pivotal, but help people understand what could happen here. If one of Tillis or Cornyn decides tomorrow they're definitely voting against him, what happens then? Is this a delay? What are you expecting?
Well, I think they have to figure out, is there a path to getting him to the floor, even with a negative committee vote? That can happen. And if so, do they have the votes to do it? Because if neither Senator Tillis nor Senator Cornyn are convinced, then a vote to the floor, they're already two down. And I think there are other senators who have a lot of skepticism about this guy. Back to my point, the third element of the scam was the fraud on the court that was committed. I can't tell you how big a deal that was. We've done the research. In the history of the Department of Justice, no senior official has ever even faced an inquiry into whether they committed fraud on the court. It's not even an allegation that has been made against any senior Department of Justice officials. And now it's pending against this guy. And I think that's enough to put other people off, particularly with November looming. I'm not sure they all want to own all of this guy's misconduct, past and future.
You'd think they wouldn't. It's interesting to hear you say that there are others on the floor who might vote against him too. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you for keeping up the fight for President Todd Blanche and keeping us all informed. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.